Joseph, are you on the line? Joseph, are you on the line?
Yes, Joseph is right here.
All right, Joseph, go ahead.
I was calling because I was interested, and I applied for a modification back in August of '09. And the modification I thought was going through. I kept the modification going on until February, and then they told me I didn't qualify for the modification. So in fear, what I did was I called the city mortgage at that time, and I told them that I would go back and pay my previous monthly note so that I could keep my home. They allowed me to do that. But in the same token, they still said I'm behind in my mortgage because during the modification I didn't have to pay. But now they're still paying that. They're saying that I'm $20,000 behind. My question was, I need to have a modification, and I didn't qualify for the modification. What do I do at this stage?
Okay, I'm going to let my I'm going to go to NHS for that. But one thing I will say is that you can apply repeatedly for HAMP. Just because you're turned down the first time doesn't mean you cannot reapply. Isn't that correct? And
I think the caller's frustration is one that we hear all the time,
right?
Which is the delays in making a decision on the loan modification. So the paperwork is submitted, and then you call in to check in on that, and they say, well, we didn't receive these documents. So then you send in your paycheck stubs, and then they say later on that and there's just this frustration that, you know, if you would just tell me the rules, and then tell me quickly whether I am approved or not. But if I'm approved, we can move ahead quickly. If not, let's move ahead with plan B, whatever that is. But it's just this delay and this constant kind of back and forth. And as was talked about earlier, at the same time that you're talking to the loan modification area, there's another part of the bank that's moving ahead on the foreclosure side, and they're not necessarily talking. So that frustration is a real one. But you're absolutely right. He should apply again for a HAMP. We can give him some assistance in that. But it is a real frustration that banks were not prepared to deal with the volume of cases that occurred on the foreclosure front. Lost documents. You know, you talk to one representative who tells you one thing, you talk to another representative who tells you something else.
And I think that's a really good point. Every time you call the bank, you're talking to someone different, and they're telling you something different.
And they've
lost
the
paperwork.
I think one of the solutions is we need our own Illinois State Bank. And if the banks don't, you know, we need our own, for the people, by the people. We need our own state of Illinois bank.
Okay, that's a drastic measure, but these are drastic times. Okay, let's go to the next caller. We have D. Are you on the line?
Hello?
Hi, you're on the air.
Okay, look, I hope I'm not too far off track.
No, you're fine.
I just hope that, well, years ago, there was a law passed revamping, you know, what they call bankruptcy, and then they made it harder, easier, or whatever. I think it's harder. But anyway, this country is in debt over $11 trillion. They can't pay their bills. They make it hard for us to pay our bills, and by law, we're supposed to be free of our bills, some kind of way we can pay our bills and live like citizens. So I don't understand how you can.
Actually, caller, you make a great point. I mean, the country is in debt up to trillions of dollars, and it seems that they should be understanding. We're going to go to the next caller. Ernesto, are you on the line?
No.
Do we have Ernesto?
And not only 13 trillion, but the bailout's been for the banks. It's not been for the people. It's the bailout's been for the banks.
And another thing,
go ahead.
A lot of the areas that we're talking about, the legal means, right, to save your home, a lot of them aren't meant to address housing as a human right. They're meant to maintain the bank's status quo, essentially, their ownership over your house. They're meant to maintain ownership over our land. The Chicago Anti-Eviction campaign addresses housing as a human right. There's a lot of people who can't get a modification because they lost their jobs. There's a lot of people who the legal means doesn't work for them anymore. So we want to reach out to all those people, contact the Chicago Anti-Eviction campaign. We want to fight because the banks at any moment have the power to give us loans, modifications. They could change the rules at any time.
Absolutely agree.
It's only going to happen through public pressure.
Absolutely agree.
Okay, we definitely intend to pressure the banks. We have another caller, Wilbert.
Yes, I'm calling on behalf, really, of my daughter.
Okay.
They're having difficulty with their mortgage. Not a real big problem, but having a little problem. So they went to have it restructured. and I don't know how that process is working, but I know that the mortgage company is not accepting their mortgage payments. Is that what should be happening?
Okay, real quick, Will, but who is she dealing with? Is she dealing with directly with the bank, or is she going through
Well, initially she went to McCormick Place for their seminars, and she took all the paperwork there.
Okay.
And then they start working on it from that point.
All right, thanks, Will, but that's a great phone call.
Yeah, let me just say this. I certainly know the organization. I think we all know the organization that you're referring to that had these big seminars at McCormick Place. And they were massive all over the country. And I've heard a lot of complaints about this. But typically when your mortgage company stops accepting your payment, that means that you're behind and they are going forward with a foreclosure action. And they've referred the case to their law firm. And there are maybe 2 or 3 law firms that handle 90% of the foreclosures in the Chicagoland area. If that's not a good sign. Now, let me just say this. Before a lender can put you in foreclosure, they have to send you what's called a right to cure letter, meaning you have a right to cure your default within 30 days. You must receive that letter, or they must mail it out at least, informing you of that. It's like a 5-day notice. Your landlord gives you 5 days to pay the back rent, otherwise they have a right to file an eviction action against you, forcible detainer action against you. If you receive that letter saying you've got 30 days to cure, then you're on the track to foreclosure.
Okay, so basically what he's saying is it is pretty serious. Make sure your daughter does do something immediately. We have Ernesto on the line. Ernesto, you on the line?
Ernesto.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Good morning. I want to see, I know I speak good English, but I got the owner to the house in Chicago, and I want to know how you can help to us to good representation and good information about the Latin people, because sometimes I don't know if you're feeling the same thing, but I think the best idea is all the time when you do a program like that, I need you or put people in there to speak Spanish or to help the Spanish people too.